Okay.
Lisa needs to call back. All right.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
This is Susan Swanbeck, CEO of the ATU Network. This work is protected by Creative Commons licensing.
For the next 2 fun-filled hours, get ready to learn something new, be inspired, enlightened, hoot, help, laugh, cry, and be awakened. And now, your host of Awakening the Unknown. You never know what these two will be up to next. So welcome Susan Swan.
Hey, everybody.
And Michelle Sullivan.
Woo!
Hi guys, I'm back.
We have a very intense show for you today. Very, very intense show. This is a very serious topic, and there's a lot of things you guys do not know about me. So during this conversation tonight, we are pulling on Lisa Alinsky
and Melissa Dunford.
Yes, so they will be coming on, and we're going to be talking about her magazine, which she had to up, and she had co-wrote with Justin and Derish. It's called Dope with No Hope. Okay. This is a really bad epidemic, and we are going to really get into a lot of details about a lot of things about this. So without further ado, please welcome Lisa Alinsky, which I'm pulling on now, and Melissa. Melissa, you guys there?
I am here.
All right.
Hello, ladies. Hello. Hopefully you guys have been practicing your social distancing while you guys have been at it these days lately.
Oh, my goodness. So, Lisa, just say hi and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, everyone. And also, I'd like to thank you, ATU Network.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate you bringing me on.
Oh, no problem, honey.
Our pleasure. I mean, we take this subject very, very seriously.
Yeah, both of us actually do take this entire subject. Yeah, you're echoing. The show is echoing in the background for someone. Michelle, is that you?
Doesn't seem to be. Is
Oh.
that me?
I don't know. All right, so we're gonna just keep going, guys. Michelle's here. She's back. We're practicing our social distancing, but I wanted to start off with talking to you about what your inspiration is behind the magazine that you put together.
Yes. Tell us about Dope with No Hope, the heroin epidemic.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Well, the story behind it may seem really odd for many. You know, I'm a believer. I believe in God. You know, I read the Bible a great deal. And I was sitting on the couch watching the news, and a story came up where we lost another person from an overdose.
Wow.
And I yelled out, and I said, God, not another one. And it was like within seconds, God placed it on my heart. You will write a magazine about heroin, about this. And I remember I yelled out, and I said, God, I don't know anything about this drug. I know nothing. And God put right there on my heart, he said, I will provide you everyone and everything. And you know what, Susan?
Wow.
He did.
Wow.
He did. I met my co-author when I went to go get my hair colored. I was telling the Swan owner about the magazine, and this man turns around. He was waiting for his wife to get her hair done. He turns around, he looks up at me, and he says, I can help you. I'm a drug counselor.
Wow.
I almost buckled. And And then it turns out I pray over a missing person, and I help with homicide cases. I pray. So I do. I pray.
Wow.
Okay. I ask for nothing. I just pray. So I've talked to Cyril Weck, Dr. Weck, many times about cases. And I thought, well, why not call him and see if he'll provide a statement? Susan, as soon as I got a hold of him, he says, no problem. I'll write you a statement.
Wow.
What was the chance? I mean, he's world renowned. He's busy. He's very famous. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm glad I listened. You know,
Right.
just one thing after another, Susan, and everything was just placed right in my path. And as I walked this path, doing this magazine, and the Lord also put it on my heart that I'm not to take any money, that I'm to give. I'm like, okay, who do I give to? And I prayed about it. And the drug counselor told me that he's a drug counselor for Adult and Teen Challenge.
Wow.
And they're in need of money. And I thought, okay. So I'm like, this is amazing.
Wow.
And then my mom calls me, Susan, and she says, Lisa, it's going to cost money to publish that magazine. She says, you know what? I'm going to call your publisher. I have my credit card and I'm paying for everything.
Wow.
I can't, I'm speechless because it was like, you don't understand the spiritual, like, part of it. It was so strong, Susan. I just want to cry right now because it's just so spiritual. It was like, what if I didn't believe in God? What if, when he spoke to my heart, what if I didn't listen and follow through? You know what I mean? Do you realize, because I met these parents for the magazine, you know, realize, Susan, how many people were going to kill themselves? How many parents were ready to take their life? And they came to me, and I prayed for them. And I said, are you willing to put your child's story in my magazine? And they said, yes. Lisa, you just brought us hope. And,
Wow.
oh, Susan, it's so because it goes beyond. It just goes beyond the magazine itself. This is about helping people. It's not about making money. Yeah, the money goes to a local rehab, but it's just the spiritual aspect behind it and how everything moves. You know, and then I've helped speak out. Okay, I've helped speak out at restaurants and whatnot, but I never did radio. Well, here comes Chris Garcia, and here comes Kathy Graves. And they said, Lisa, you know, Kathy Graves and Chris Garcia said, you have to do radio. You have to get out of the closet. So here's Kathy and Chris. They're kicking me out of the closet, and now I'm on the radio.
That's awesome. That
Yeah,
really
it is because
It
with
hit me hard, trust me.
it's with me, and there's a lot of my background that people don't know about me. They know that I'm a widow. They do know that much because I started the radio station after that. And they know that my reasons for starting the radio station is because I couldn't help my husband. So I had to try to help as many others as I could. They still don't know why. So this will be first. It will be a large first opening up, and doing what I'm doing to help you is going to be a healing experience for me as well.
as it is going to be for a lot of other people too. And I'm sure like your magazine has brought that to a lot of people. And like you say, for people to come out and tell you their stories, that's almost like a weight off their shoulders to be able to talk to you. I mean, I know like back in the day, I was with somebody who was a severe drug addict. So I am familiar with being on the relationship end of being with somebody who was a drug addict, who was a heroin user as well. So I went to Al-Anon, and I understand the strength and the faith it is to be able to stand up and tell your story to somebody who understands, and the strength of being. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I mean, this is a gift that you gave to so many people, and it's the gift that that's going to keep on giving, to be honest. This is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
But it's like, but I feel like it's not about, it's not me. It's not about me. It's everyone. You know, everyone, like, I just pulled everybody together. Now he's using you to bring this to light on the radio. And then beyond that, it may go even beyond that because somebody may hear your, the story tonight, or even Melissa, because Melissa's on the recovery end.
Yes.
And I'm more of an advocate for parents that lost a child, and Melissa Dunford, the admin for Faces of Opiates, she really pushes the recovery. And then I was able to meet her. So it's like, wow, we are what I call team circle, okay? And us as being a team circle, we're coming together for the good of the people. We're not taking from people, we're giving to people. And that's what's important. We have to remember, because we're giving and not taking. And it's like a spider web, it's just reaching out. It's amazing. So I never make it about me. I make it about, who pushed it, which is God really pushed it, to have me do this. And he brought everybody together. So it's like a spiritual movement, if that makes sense.
It does.
Absolutely, it does. Oh my goodness.
Everybody, we're all together in this. We all have our stories. Everybody, I don't care who you are, you have a story. You have a story and you're back. And I'm willing to listen to that story, just like you're willing to listen to this story. And we're willing to listen to everybody that calls in their story. And that's important. So we have that listening ear. That's what we all need. We need that shoulder to cry on. We need that listening ear, but we also need to help other people by speaking out. So it's really interesting how all this came together. And again, I can't thank you enough, Ian Scott, ATU Network, or Dr. Wack, or Melissa, everybody, every parent. I want to cry because it's so, it's so moving, so to speak. It's a good thing.
It truly is.
Yeah, I think for me, because a lot of people, as far as they know, my husband died of cancer. God, I hate doing this, and I have to do this. I know I do because it's the only way I'll.
You gotta rip open the Band-Aid, darling. It's time to spill the beans, my girlfriend.
I loved my husband to death. My husband was a heroin addict. He was real bad. He cleaned up a bit, but at the end, before he left, he was back into it again. He figured he was going to die anyway, so why bother? And the reason that his liver was no good was because he was shooting up. And it was hard for me. And I know it was hard for a lot of other people. And maybe one of you two can give me a perspective, because if you go through this, why wasn't I good enough for him to stop? And that's what it is. Why couldn't I get through to him? Why didn't he or she love me enough to stop? That's what goes through my head, the survivor. But I can't get into his head right now.
I think, I can talk from the perspective. So I was a drug user.
Okay.
But that's not why I started the group. But I was into pills. I loved pills. I loved morphine. It was my thing. So I stopped in 2015. I've been sober for a while, but it becomes almost like, you've been hungry before, or like so thirsty you can't stand it. It's like that, and nothing balms it, and nothing else matters. It really isn't a matter of choosing. It's this primal need, because we have opioid receptors in our body. So once you turn those on, your body wants that sensation filled at all costs. So it's hard to tell families, but it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
As horrible as that is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to express that to people, but it's just all about filling that need that you physically have to have.
I mean, I kind of understand that, like my coffee addiction. I'm sorry, I was trying to lighten the mood. It's what I do.
But it's like a coffee addiction times like a million, though,
Or
Yeah.
alcohol, booze, food, coffee, whatever it is. I mean, when you talk about heroin, it's at a level that,
It's all
or
by itself.
opioids, and I think it's because our body has that natural receptors to want opioids, right? Like that's how we can deal with pain. That's how we turn pain on and off. So I think it makes it even that much more challenging than even other drugs.
Yeah, with him, he was, and again, I just want to, so everybody else opens up. I'm going to be 100% straight for the first time in a long time. When I met him, he was an addict. He was on a lot of methadone to try to come down, and he was on too much because he was falling asleep everywhere. But there was just something about him. I don't know. He was a pain in my ass, but I loved him to death. And I still tell him that, dude, you're a pain in my ass, but I still love you. You know, it is what it is. But he started coming down off the methadone, and he was doing really good. And then he had a particular issue with hepatitis, which is what caused his liver to go haywire. So, and yeah, nobody in our family has it. We were always very careful because I was his caregiver. It's one of the things I've always done is be a caregiver. So I made sure everything was the way that it was. But when it got to the point where he started coming down too low, and this is why this is the part that bothers me. I was trying to convince him not to come down too low, which is strange because I've never done it, because I could see the pain he was in. I could feel the pain he was in because I'm an empath. So I think what he did, and maybe psychologically, I'm finally giving myself the answer. I think because he was feeling the pain so bad, I think at the end, that's why he went back to it. He went to do something to numb the pain he couldn't control anymore.
It's true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Drugs too changes the brain chemistry, right, Melissa?
It does. I mean, yeah, I mean, everything, you know, and yeah, and that's something else, you know, when you talk about why won't someone quit for me or why won't they quit for themselves, you're not dealing with a rational brain, right? Their brain, it's sick, it's damaged at the time, right? They're not using our rational brain like we normally use. When we don't have that rationality. And they've shown that it's physical and, you know, and mental. I mean, it's a combination of the two. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a really tough
And
situation.
You remove the addiction, you remove the attachment, and then when you do that, you become you again.
Yeah.
You know, you become that person that can live again. You become that person that's not chasing the dragon. You know, you have a means to want to live. A lot of these people suffering with addiction want to give up. You know, and it saddens me. And then you have a lot of people that are willing to go get help. But then what help do we have for everybody? Do we have the right help? You know, we want to put a lot of these programs want to put in place people in placement that are suffering. But Melissa, is it the right help? You know what I mean? The people that we're losing, the people that are dying in our country, is it because they didn't get the right help provided by our government that should be there, that, you know, should be held accountable? Big Pharma, all these people should be.
Absolutely.
You see my point here?
No.
Do we lose our people because they didn't have the right help? You see what I'm saying?
No, I do. I agree with you.
I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over
No,
you.
go ahead, honey. Go ahead. That's what this is all about. Everybody throwing ideas out. Go ahead.
So what I was going to say, and I don't want to be unpopular here, but you know, this COVID-19 pandemic, which is very serious, it can affect the world, and I don't make light of it. Look at the action and the swiftness that we've taken over just a few hundred deaths in the United States, where we're losing anywhere from 70 to 100,000 people a year for opioid overdoses, and we're still begging the president to declare it a national emergency so it can release more funds like FEMA and whatnot to get people into treatment, to get people to medical assisted therapy. We, you know, and all those inroads that we've made, I am sure we have to start again now because of this pandemic. You know, all the things that we were pushing through legislation, trying to make better for people in our country suffering from addiction, has really taken a setback. And I think it's because people think you choose. You choose, you shouldn't be helped. You choose, so you shouldn't, you know, you don't have the grace of God anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like they look at it as a choice, and I don't think that's a fair statement. You know, my best friend died, and why I started the group, she worked for the state police for years. She was a dispatcher, and she died with a needle in her arm at work, and nobody came to her memorial.
Wow.
Various drugs were tied to it, and we should never feel that way, right? You should never feel any shame in how you die or how your loved one dies.
No.
That's right.
You know,
Right.
well, I attended a couple funerals. Do you know what it's like to be in a funeral home and have the mom walk in, and as soon as she sees her son in a casket, she breaks down, and I mean, I've seen it. She walked in the funeral home and she wrapped her arms around her child in his coffin, and it just buckles you. It just breaks your heart. It just makes you realize that once you attend a funeral, it's like it's more of a reality. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this young man's gone because of the drug that our country allows in. That,
Mhm.
and it be happening, and it's so devastating,
Mhm.
But go to a funeral, and then, everything flips. It becomes more of a reality. It really does.
I do agree with Melissa, though. I really do believe that
Yeah,
just not enough gets done for
right.
drug addiction in this
Most
country as
times
well as
that it's not no
140 other countries. I agree 100%.
our loved ones, and we're allowing poison to be sold on the street.
That's right.
Exactly. Now, here's
Go ahead,
something
honey.
I want to bring up, and Melissa and Susan and everybody, I want you to weigh in on this too. Is we have a pandemic, right? We agree we have a pandemic.
Right.
Yes.
Drug dealers. There's drug dealers out there just about on every corner today. They have hundreds of customers. How are we going to keep them safe? Because they're not going to stop drug dealing. Okay, we have people suffering with addiction that's going to go to that drug dealer. We're talking hundreds a day, and we're in a pandemic now too. So how does someone suffering with addiction even think? Because the brain chemistry changes. So how does one that's suffering with addiction think to stay safe in that perspective?
They don't.
You see what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah, they
they're
don't.
not going to. I
They-
mean, the problem, yeah, they're not. And we are gonna see more rogue chemists as this goes on, right? Because we can't get the fentanyl from China because imports are slowing down. So I would predict that we're gonna see new drugs hit the streets that people are making at home, and it's going to be even more risky.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
The whole thing is going to become more and more dangerous because they don't think. It's just about to numb themselves, and everybody has a different story of how it started. And I mean, for my husband's
Right.
case, it was different than a few other people that actually went to the place he went.
Well, if you think about things now, too,
Like with him, he was abused from a child, so he started at a young age. But
Right.
there's doctors there, there's nurses there, there's always somebody. Not everybody that is involved in it is somebody that had a rough life or got nowhere. No, he was a fisherman his whole life. He worked his whole life. So yes, there are different levels of different people.
But the thing is, too, now you think about now, the pandemic now has now also removed churches. The pandemic has removed therapy sessions. The pandemic has removed AA meetings, NA meetings, has
Yeah.
removed all kinds of different types of treatment. I know that the methadone clinics only allow, certain things going on. I mean, I know that the pandemic has changed drug addiction treatment already at a whole other different level. How are we going to respond even to that? They're responding to the COVID-19, but they're not responding to the drug addiction problems that are now being exacerbated due to the COVID-19, because now we just took and removed all levels of assistance to all drug addicts, all of them. And every single level of their addiction process has been completely wiped and removed from right underneath them. What are we going to do about that now?
I don't know.
What do they do about that now?
Well, I mean, they've done a couple of things, right? So, like, for example, so my group, Faces of Opioids, I'm an organization, but we're also a Facebook group. We have 65,000 people that engage in our group for support. So NA and SMART and AA, they've moved a lot of their meetings to virtual, so you can do them like instead of in person, you can do them online.
Good.
I know, so with methadone clinics, for example, the federal government just passed something last week where they can send you home with like 2 weeks to a month of take homes. Which
Okay.
means instead of going every day, you would take home a supply. And it depends how stable you are, how many days they can send you home with. Like if you're new in recovery, if you've been in recovery a long period of time, just depends. So they are trying to do some things, but yes, the things that you're bringing up, like I'm worried about my people in sober living, right? Like they have to pay rent weekly. If they can't work, they can't pay rent. Are they kicking them out? Like we don't know. We can't get a pulse. And there's no protocol across the country on how those things are going to be handled. So
Well,
yeah, I'm certainly worried about my community.
There are some states that if they can't work because their business legally had to be shut down, if you apply for unemployment, you need to explain that, put that in attachment, and it's supposed to push their unemployment through quicker. I did have a daughter
Oh,
that was
good.
laid off, so I did find that out. So I had to find out some information for her because my older daughter, my only daughter, anyways, she was laid off. So that is something that they're doing right now to push through the United States. So that package was actually pushed through.
But I think in all the consideration of all this stuff with the pandemic and all the laws and everything that's getting pushed through, I do think that that's not something that they're really seriously considering, because you're right. Drug dealers are still on the corners. You're right. People are still selling drugs out of their houses. You're right. People are still delivering drugs to here, there, and everywhere. They're also in the danger of transmitting the COVID-19 to all these people. They're danger of transmitting the COVID now from here, there, and everywhere. I mean, they're putting people in danger for not only the drug problem, but also for the COVID-19 problem right now.
Yeah, but they don't think of it that way. And that's
No, of course not.
From my experience of dealing with my husband and the empathic side, he didn't think of it that way. He didn't think. It didn't dawn on him that anything he was doing was wrong.
No, of course not. Because right now, especially with people being at home with this pandemic, it can't be
We're
easy.
junkies, we chose it.
Yeah,
And you think of this picture, what you think of a drug addict, what a drug addict looks like, it's like what you see in the movies, right? They're on the street corner, but that's not the reality of what we're going on here. I mean, we're losing people, I don't know how many young men that I've seen. I think I've helped at least 3,000 families in the last 2 years that have lost children. And I mean, most of them were 19-year-old kids from good families.
Right.
College, football, all aspects. Heroin has no boundaries. This drug has no boundaries.
No, it doesn't.
boundaries.
It has
Police officers
absolutely
have
no boundaries. I agree.
Police officers.
We've had, well, you said police officers overdose. We've seen judges overdose. We saw an anesthesiologist overdose. I mean, all on fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this, I mean, this isn't just, I have one mother that's lost 5 children to this. 5.
Wow.
All 5 of her children.
Yeah, I have a parent lost 2 of his children, daughter and son. Very sad. And I'm going to tell you guys something. This is another part of the spiritual aspect of this. When I did all this, I got a phone call from a family, and they said, "Our son just overdosed. Can you go to the hospital and pray for him?" I said, "Okay, I'm there. I'll be there in 5 minutes." I took my anointing oil and everything, and I took my boyfriend with me. I said, "You're coming with me. We're going to pray." I get to the hospital. I picked up the red phone that they have there at the hospital, and the doctor said, "Is this Lisa?" And I said, "Yeah, it's Lisa," and they opened up the doors for me. I go into his hospital room. There's blood on the sheets. I sat right on it. I didn't care. I sat next to him, and I looked at him, and I'll never forget this. I said, "Are you ready to change your life? Because nothing you have done so far has worked, right?" He says, "Yeah, nothing that I've done has worked." I said, "Are you willing to pray with me?" And he said, "I am." And I'll never forget the look in his eyes. And he said, "I want to be a better father. I want to be a better son to my family." And when I prayed, I'm sorry, I'm crying, but when I prayed with him, I felt the spiritual move in that hospital room. And then here comes the nurse. And the nurse is crying. And she said, "Did you just pray for him?" I said, "I did." And she says, "Lisa, we had 13 people come in the ER tonight. He's the only one living. All other 12 are dead."
Jesus.
He is the
That's
only-
horrible.
And
Horrible.
tell you what, talk about emotional. Then the doctor comes to me. The doctor at the ER says, "Can you help us?" I said, "What do you need, doctor?" He says, "I want you to pass House Bill 713. I said, "Well, I'm not familiar with House Bill 713, but I will look it up."
Mm-hmm.
And I came home, kept my promise. I called my contacts in DC, and they told me the reason why that bill went dead, literally flatlined, was because the senator that was pushing it through retired. And when he retired, that bill went flatline. I said, "Well, I want to file a grievance. I want to file a grievance on HB 713. And they took my complaint, and now I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Now, Lisa, explain what is that House Bill 13? What is that actually? What was it?
Okay, House 713 is to put someone in treatment involuntarily.
Oh, okay.
Yes. A lot of people got mad at me, but think about it. If the person's suffering with addiction, their brain chemistry has changed. They're not thinking straight. So we, the family, think straight for them. We put them in there involuntarily, and then a month later, they're thanking us. Oh, thank you for doing that. My whole life is going to be better now. I'm doing.
Right.
You have to look at the outcome of it. You have to look at the all-in-all picture, the future of it. You know, and I don't know if Melissa agrees. Melissa, do you agree with the House Bill 713?
Yeah, I mean, yes, because the way I look at it, you know, and I'm all about individual freedoms and less government, so I don't, you know, I tend to stray that way. But when this circumstance, to me, it's no different than dealing with someone that's mentally ill, that's a danger to themselves or others. I think that's exactly when you're using drugs what you are.
Right.
And I think we should be able to commit that person against their will for you know, a small period of time for them to get their brain chemistry clear, then they can make decisions from there, right? But I think, yeah,
Yes.
I love that because I watched my son struggle in and out of addiction. He's an adult child. There's nothing more frustrating than not being able to help your child.
Right.
Even though he was a legal adult, there was nothing I can do. Like in Virginia, the age of medical consent is 14. So I can't make a
Wow.
child over 14 do something. And you're talking about now from kids 15 to 18.
Wow. What the heck?
Even minor. So that's yeah, I do agree with 7. I agree.
And I think actually it's a good idea because correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but don't they say that when you start using drugs is usually the age that you get stuck mentally? So like say if you start using drugs at like 12 or 13 and you may be like 30 or 40 years old, but mentally you're stuck at that
No,
13-year-old age, right?
no.
I thought I've heard that. What do you guys think?
My son, like, you know, so my son is 24 now, but he's still a pain in the ass like he's 16, and that's about when he started using drugs. So,
Well, I remember going to Al-Anon and them telling me that as a way to kind of understand the brain of the person that was the addict, that mentally they kind of get stuck at that age
you know
that
what I
they
mean?
start
Even
using
when
drugs.
you're younger, I've seen that they do tend to stunt, and they have to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
Is my experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
you two are talking over each other. It's hilarious.
Sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's like you both got this. You got this New York thing where you got to talk. Michelle's got this Portuguese thing when she's got to talk. So I'm just sitting here nodding my head, and I'm trying to say like 1 minute, and she just keep going, and it's funny. It really is hilarious.
Well, my social distancing doesn't allow me to. I'm on a catch up. I'm on a delay with you guys.
Yeah, so it's hilarious. So because normally she's right next to me, but we have to practice social distancing.
That's
So
right.
this was the way to do it. Plus, she had the flu, and because she's diabetic, she's got a low immune system. So she's still quarantining in her bedroom, which is right behind me, by the way. So
That's right.
it's
So
hilarious.
I want to keep my germs to myself. They're my germs, okay? They're
She
mine.
wants me to do all the cooking and baking. Who you kidding?
Well, you know, I like the restaurant service that she brings me. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, as far as like I know other people have other experience as well, but when I seen my husband, I didn't see an addict. I see things differently. I seen a very beautiful person, a kind-hearted person, a loving person with the world's biggest heart out of anybody I've ever met. And when we were together in the beginning before he went back, he was the best person in the world. And he will always be the best person in the world. I don't look at people like that. I mean, even when I take the bus, it's like, you know, this one guy all the time, I want a beer. And I talk to him like I'm his mother because I'm old enough to be his mother. But I don't care if he's on the streets or not. I'm still going to talk to you. I'm still
you're
going to
not a
try to
bad
get through
person.
to you because Michelle does the same thing. We
You're not a
both do.
bad person though because you're an addict to, you know, you're a drug addict or an alcohol addict.
No, I mean,
You're
you
not
know,
a bad person at
sometimes
all.
the shittiest things happen to the best people. And
You
I
know
can
what I
tell you, my husband was one of the best.
I mean, that's like saying, oh, well, I'm a diabetic, so I have a disease, so I'm a bad person because I'm a diabetic. No, I mean, drug addiction is a disease. You're not a bad person if you have that disease. I don't believe that either. I mean, what do you ladies say about that, Lisa and Melissa?
Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I definitely think it's a disease. I think it's, there's debates if it's, but the medical association agrees it's a disease, so that's what it is. But I look at it, when I start, like, for this group, for example, this group, where I represent people that are in recovery, people that have lost people, I'm the leader, I'm the helm of the ship. When my son relapsed, I remember thinking, should I tell them? And I thought, okay, if I was running a cancer group, I would tell them if God forbid he came out of remission. Why would I feel any kind of stigma? Like, I'm trying to fight that kind of stigma, right? We should be able to talk about it like any other disease. We shouldn't have to feel that shame.
Yeah, and that's what it is.
That's it.
When you come to the point, and this was always my issue, if I air out too much, my kids will hear too much. I've always been very protective of my children. We had children. So
right.
I have to be careful what I say. I mean, my kids might know, but it's something we don't talk about.
See, and I've been trying to bust her open from that.
Yeah, I know. I've been very guarded because of them, not for my husband. And like I said, yes, my husband was an addict. I loved him to death. I mean, sometimes I'd want to punch him upside the face, and other times I want to hug him. But that's what a relationship is normally. So, no big deal.
This is what I've been busting her open loose, because I feel like the opposite. I feel like, honesty is the best policy regardless, because I would want my kids to understand, like he's a human being regardless. Like the person that I was with for 8 years, I was a drug addict. I didn't hide anything from his children or his family. Neither did I hide it from mine, because they saw him going in and out of treatment. They saw us going to couples therapy. They saw him going to therapy. They saw him going to treatment. And I wanted them to understand that it was a disease, that it was an epidemic going around, that it was something that would hopefully they would see with their own eyes, open eyes, and hopefully you would understand the ramifications of it, and hopefully would be something that they would hopefully realize that it's not something that they would want to go down that road. You know what I mean? Though we all know that doesn't protect anybody from anything, because we never know what makes the whole thing start for anybody in the first place. Everybody has their own reasons for how they start taking drugs in the first place. But we all have our ways on how we do things.
There was too much going on. You know that. Literally, yeah. I mean, he was towards the end when the cancer got real bad. No, he was, he was on a lot of prescription meds, but literally, I mean, you're in so much pain, they're prescribing morphine to you. And because I was his caregiver, I'm the one that gave it to him. But it was so bad that it was a toss up. He had an enlarged heart. He had liver cancer. He was an addict, but it was like, it was in so much pain. It was like a forced stop, which is dangerous. And what happened was he had a major coronary. He had a heart attack. They resuscitated him, but they couldn't get him going, because then when his liver shut down, his whole body was full of toxins, and he ended up dying the day after my son got married. He promised him no matter what happened, because he was supposed to be the best man at his wedding, but he promised him no matter what happened, I will live until the day you get married. I will not die on your wedding. I won't. You will get married. And he died the morning after his wedding. Mm-hmm. I think that's why the whole thing was so devastating to me. I feel like I'm having a counseling session here today.
Well, I mean, like for Lisa and Melissa to understand too, and everybody out there, like this is the first time Sue's literally coming out and saying, I understand my husband was an addict, and I'm coming out there and saying, yes, he was an addict, out openly, because it's something that she kind of always kept guarded, and not said openly. You know what I mean? So I'm proud of you, because you're breaking that freaking stigma. You're breaking that out of you, because it's not something wrong. It's not something wrong that he did. He was an addict. He had a disease. He's not a bad person. He was not a bad man. He loved you regardless. He didn't choose drugs over you. It wasn't like that. That's something she has in her head too, ladies, Melissa and Lisa and everybody out there. It was truly a disease. It was truly a disease. It's like he wouldn't have chose cancer over you. He wouldn't have chose diabetes or high blood pressure over you. It wasn't something like that. I mean, it's a true disease, and it's something that you need to understand. And it affects people from a young age and all the way to an older age. And you never know what's going to be the catalyst for anybody's drug addiction, or what's going to be the catalyst for them to have a relapse. And here I am talking like I'm the one who wrote the magazine. So ladies, help me.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring her on as my counselor. Is that okay?
Yeah, this
I was
is,
gonna say something that I'd like to add. I'd like to add something. I think when you were talking about, whether your kids would find out or their friends would find, whatever that is, I think that, as bold as I am, I think there needs to be caution because there are consequences in owning your truth. They're not all going to be good. Like, I mean, I think it's great. I try to tell my story, share my story, but, I do caution people, you have to be prepared to do that in your life because some people are going to shut, going to be uncomfortable, consequences. We want to change that. And I think by being more honest and open, that will change the dialogue. But I don't want people to think it's Mary Poppins because even now when someone asks how my best friend died and I share it, it's like, it's like one of those bars where the music stops and everything. It's like, they get really,
Yeah.
something about that. And and with children, we have a children's group. We have like I think we started like a year ago. We have over 500 kids that have lost a parent too.
They have this Little Faces program, yeah.
Right. So
wait a minute,
so many
you
parents
have a
that do tell
program
my
for
kids,
that?
when do I tell my kids? Should I tell my kids? I think that I do believe in honesty. I think that you do it at age appropriate levels. I think but do you encourage your kids to tell their friends at school or this? I mean, there's so many complexities to that. And I think that until we are much further along, it is okay to be a little bit protective of, and not have to feel guilty about keeping your story to yourself until you're ready to face all those consequences that might come with it.
I mean,
See?
yeah, I agree. My son does know. They all know, but it took a while. Joseph was the youngest. Everybody else was older and married, and Joseph was still home. So right now he's got me and Auntie Michelle and 2 dogs.
And I'm a big mouth. So I'm
He's
like,
still got that Portuguese around him because I'm
Yeah.
not Portuguese. He was a Portuguese.
yeah.
So he's still got that. He's got that Portuguese nagging around him. But I knew when I jumped at this show, I knew there was a reason I had to jump at it. And I also knew that it would be a very difficult show for me to do. But I also knew that it was something that I had to do because you have all the perspectives right here in the room.
Mhm.
Literally, we have
Right.
the individual that is living with it, who is fighting to stay above board, and she's also dealing with her son. And then we have the person that goes out and help, and then we have the other end of me, and the other end of Michelle. So this all thing
Right.
is it's well rounded, and maybe everybody can see all the perspectives of everything because it'll help if we can help just one person by doing this show, by me opening my mouth, by Michelle opening her mouth, anybody, just one. That's one person who's been saved before. And I
Mhm.
think that's what it is about me. And that's why I knew this was going to be hard for me. And I wonder it would. As those people can see me, yes, there are tears in my eyes right now, but it's something that needs to be done. It needs to be
Yeah.
said. It needs to come out.
It's healing for you too,
Well,
Sue. You know what I
you
mean?
cannot change the world, but you may touch the person that does.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yep.
Amen to that. Look at you, did, Melissa. You have over 63,000 people. My gosh, look how many people you help.
Wow.
So you can do it all. I mean, I'm juggling with, so many. You're dealing with what, 65,000?
That is so epic, though, that you started with one and now you're at 63,000 people. That is amazing.
Made a comment or.
Wow.
I do it 12 hours a day. It's funny because mine kind of, yours came from revelation from God and a place of, it sounds like, an epiphany. Mine came from a place of darkness, right? Like I was just at such a low point and I was in the bathtub and I'm like, and I think just kind of got that warm feeling, this brilliant idea. You know what I mean? Like mine was sent in a different way. And I really did it for selfish reasons. I was lonely and sad. Like I didn't have I'm going to help the world, but clearly God had other plans for me because it helped
Yeah,
other
he did.
people.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
go girl.
That's right.
No, I agree. I agree. The one thing I could not find was a group where my son could actually talk open and honest when he was ready. They don't have that around here. They don't have, they want to stop the cycle, help the kids.
Yeah, I
Literally
agree.
give them someplace to go, whether they've experienced it from the outside or whether they're in. There should be no separation because it's like with me, I was on the outside looking in, and now I am listening to you. And now because I have a fresh set of ears, I can hear what you were saying. I could feel what you were saying. That's what these kids need. That's what adults need too. It shouldn't be separated. It should be like small groups together, people helping people. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah. When I grew up around here, we used to have people come into the schools and talk about addiction and talk about, their truths and everything like that. For the last 20 something years around us here in Massachusetts, for some reason, that just has not happened. The kids don't even get that kind of opportunity anymore.
No, they don't.
So a program like yours, Melissa, and people like that to talk to around here would be a godsend, because that's a lot of missing pieces that we have around here. And I can only imagine there must be a million other communities around here that have that same exact issue that we have, that we don't have access to hear other people's truths in order for the children to learn and absorb and understand, why this is actually something that they should avoid, why it's so life changing, why it's so consuming in families, why you end up in jail, why you end up in mental facilities if you don't care, you know, what is the subject, what is insanity, right? What do they say? If you keep doing the same thing and expecting things to change, it's insanity, right? What does that mean? Like, the kids don't learn what that means anymore. That's a lost piece. And I know that's a lost piece in our community. So I can only imagine how many other communities out there that's already missing that piece, which is sad, which is very, very sad. Because we had a better outcome, I think, when I was growing up around here, and we
All
had.
right. Hold on. Michelle. Guess what? Somebody else wants to talk.
Okay, go for it. Hey, I'm on the lag. I'm on the delay. I'm a little delayed. You know what I'm saying?
Personally, think that it would be good to start, we've been researching this a lot, trying to expand Little Faces into like a children's program. And I think it really should start around 5th grade, like kind of when they do family planning at school. It would be a good tie-in.
Yeah.
You already have the kids, girls and boys, and I think it'd be a good time because, I remember learning about, I was part of the Just Say No generation, right? So I'm 46. That was, I was right around for all that. And I do remember, like, they never, they taught cocaine and alcohol and pot and all kind of in a mixed bag, like, don't do them, they're bad, right?
Yeah.
No one really ever told me that, heroin's not a recreational drug, right? You're going to lose your limbs. You're going to get an infection. You're going to have heart replacement. There's so many factors. And I think that we need to be much more realistic and more brutal about what drug use is like. And I think especially if you have a family member, you have a higher chance of carrying that gene and having an addiction yourself. So maybe those kids never take, that Loratab when they get their teeth pulled. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things we can learn and educate, not just kids, but their families as well. And I think It needs to start, I would target 5th grade, I think would be a good place to start.
Yeah, I think I agree totally with that.
With Melissa, and that's why I submitted my coloring book PDF. I did a coloring book for strangers, dangers.
I love that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just love it. Yeah.
I'm not gonna put this on Amazon. What I like to do is I like to give it to Melissa free, which I did, and Melissa's gonna change it up. So she'll take it from stranger dangers to drug awareness.
I want a coloring book. I'm putting my dibs in, guys. I want a coloring book.
Sorry,
Okay.
everybody. Michelle's had the flu for about a week, so.
That's my way of giving. Hey, Melissa, here's a free PDF. Change it up, make it a drug awareness coloring book, and let's get it out there. For her page. And I think it's important because we do need to reach the younger generation. And so I agree with Melissa 100%.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. Even teens, even now, I know he needs to open up a little bit more. I know that.
Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, like, I'm going to say a story.
Program I wanted to mention, since there might be other listeners. So there's a thing called Camp Mariposa. So Camp Mariposa is a camp for kids that they can go like free for the weekend. And it's like basically kids that have someone in their family that's and has an addiction. And it's usually held in every major Major Baseball League City, because that's where they have the camp. So it's free. That's something to look up. And then there's also Camp Erin, EIRN, and they have free weekends as well for children that have lost a loved one.
Huh.
So there are, but again, those programs are far and few between, and you have to be able to get to those cities. But there are, I would love to see things like that grow even more. That would be, so kids can be with other kids that are going through the same experiences that they've had to experience.
I agree. I really agree. That is definitely something that needs to be expanded upon. There's a
Hey,
lot of
President Trump, if you're listening, hello, we got a list of things that you got to work on once the pandemic's over.
Our stalker is from Channel 10. Try to get that straight.
Hey, Channel NBC 10 girls, hello. Tennille, or whatever your name is, Chanel, there we go, Chanel. Yes, we got a list of things you need to work on once this pandemic is over. Hint, hints. Okay, I'm keeping the list too, don't worry.
Oh my God. So when you don't take any proceeds, but the proceeds to your magazine goes to someone, goes to
Melissa?
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to keep anything.
right.
And I want to give, to a local rehab, which is Adult and Teen Challenge. It's just, I was doing so many missing person cases and homicide cases by praying over that person for families.
Right.
And also for like state police, I've looked into cases for them. I was on scene with them. And I got so involved in that, I just didn't market that magazine. But I want to really take those proceeds and give it to Adult and Teen Challenge.
Okay. How do people order this?
Yeah, so far there wasn't an adequate amount. Like there was really nothing made. And what I did make, I already gave to my co-author. And it's interesting because he almost started crying. He almost broke down because the first check I got, the only check I got, I messaged him and I said, Justin, I'm going to give you the check because I don't want the money and I'm just going to give it to you. And then any other checks that come, I'll give to Adult and Teen Challenge, right? And he comes to the house here and I signed the check and I gave it to him. And he looked at me and he says, you don't realize. He goes, I graduated from college, I was graduating from college at more classes. And he goes, and I really didn't have the gas money to run out there because we were all supposed to meet. He said, Lisa, by you giving me this check, you just met my needs for gas money today.
Wow.
Be able to, and he's a drug counselor and he was furthering his education to even do more for people that are suffering with addiction. So, I teared up because I thought, wow, this is truly a blessing because, he has 2 kids. He has a wife, there's a lot of responsibility there.
Yeah.
So that extra income really helped him out. But anything thereafter, all will go to Adult and Teen Challenge.
So
That's awesome.
how do people order this book directly?
They can go through my publisher, and the number is 724-226-1255.
Awesome. Is there a website that they can go to your publisher's website and just order it there?
I do have a website I could send you if you want to post that.
Okay.
He has if you specifically type in the book or the magazine, it should take you to his website as well.
Okay.
Now, Melissa, what about you, honey? How can people reach you? What all that you do?
Yeah, we still have another hour. I just want to make sure this information gets out there.
Yeah, well, trust me, we're going to ask you girls again.
So to connect with FACES, you can either go to facesofopioids.org, or you can go to Facebook/groups/Faces of Opioids, is how to reach us. Now we're I think we kind of do something similar, Lisa. Like we do take donations and things like that, but we're the same way. We don't take salaries. We don't fatten like big office space. We don't do bloated things like admin fees. I think, and you just look for that. But I think most people, I don't know if it's been in your experience, Lisa, most that I've worked with really are giving back to their communities. I mean, I think that most of them are, when they are, raising funds or whatever they're doing. I've seen a lot of positive in this community. I mean, at least people I've worked with so far.
See, I donated to your Little Faces program.
I know.
I think
Aww.
because these children have hope. Like it gives them a ray of hope. It's like when they get a gift in the mail from you guys, right? I mean, they get teddy bear and
Well,
cards.
We basically, we make a pillow out of their lost loved one's shirt.
Oh, that is
So
so
email the shirt.
sweet.
Yeah, we send a memorial package, and then like, on like the anniversary of their loved one's death, we send them like forget-me-nots to plant and things like that.
Oh
So
my goodness, that is so
when
amazing.
I had this, when I found out, well, I can't sew, by the way. I had to find seamstresses. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just thought it'd be a great idea to send them pillows. But no, these kids like hold them and love them and smell them, and I mean, they miss their mom, they miss their dad, and so I think having a pillow made from like their dad's favorite shirt really is a really beautiful thing to do for
Oh,
children.
Melissa, that's awesome.
It is it really is my daughter-in-law took one of my husband's flannel shirts and made a teddy bear out of it for my son and put his ashes in it. So yeah, and he still has it in his room.
That's really sweet. That's really, really a sweet idea. Oh, that's so cute. See, things like this that give back to the community that literally open up, people's eyes. Because guaranteed a child that receives a gift like that, and if they're ever presented with drugs, that's almost like a little light that goes on in the head, going ding, 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 ding. Wow, this happened. I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want to have one of my families receive something like this in behalf of me someday. It's almost like giving them a gift, but it gifted in more than one way, because it truly is like a little light that
And I
goes off.
wanted to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
To teach kids that it's okay to be altruistic. You can help someone, like, we're strangers. We send them gifts and they might not even know why. They don't have to. Sometimes it's okay to just be nice to a stranger for no reason. I don't want anything in return.
Right.
I think it's a gift to teach children that.
Yeah.
We purposely made this group and we called it Little Faces. We didn't tie opioids. We didn't tie faces to opioids. I still wanted it to be the parents lead on what and how to tell their children. But these kids, they get special gifts from us and things like that. And I think that's okay. I think that's enough.
That is very sweet. And what a very sweet idea. That's really awesome.
I get, and I got a little letter, I've gotten letters from some of these kids, like, a 5-year-old wrote me a letter saying, thanking me for, in their little handwriting, and they drew a little picture, thanking me for, getting their pillow made. So that stuff really touches your heart.
Oh my goodness, that's the best though. I love that. I absolutely love that. That's the lost art of the little thank you notes from the kids. That's the best. That is so cute. I love that. That's sweet. That makes it. That makes that makes your year, I'm sure. That is so sweet.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Wow.
So any questions for our guests, guys, please make sure to post that in the chat room. We got our restream going up. So, and please don't be shy.
I'm trying to get the link over here up, at least to, wow, ATU network page. Talk about a long link there. There it is. Okay. All right. Actually, we're getting close to break time, which is a pause for the cause of what we like to call refilling the coffee and potty time. So we're going to put you two on hold, and we are going to be right back right after this. Don't forget, guys, if you want to call in, you want to share your story, you need some advice, these two ladies are the best person to call right now. You can call in at 563-999-3002. We're going to see who's on the line when we get back, so stay tuned. We're actually going to be right back right after this.
Don't forget, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
Hey there, everybody. We are back. This is ATU Network. Don't forget, our call-in number is 563-999-3002. And if you would like to help ATU Network out, just go on over to Susan Swanbeck page, ATU. That is where we sell all of our crystals. So, that's awesome. And we're going to pull. Do you have anything else to add before we pull Melissa and Lisa back on?
Oh, we are back with Lisa Linsky and Melissa Dunford talking about magazine Dope with No Hope, the heroin epidemic, guys. So if you would like to call and speak with our guests or tell your story, please give us a call at 563-999-3002. And we look forward to hearing from you guys too. We know this is a really tough subject to talk about. But you know what? Let's get our minds off the COVID-19 for a little bit and let's talk about something else.
We do have a caller in. We do have a caller in hold. I have no idea who this caller is. So we are talking with the last four numbers is 8053. So I'm going to pull this caller on the line if that's okay with you.
Lisa, Melissa, you back with us?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Yep,
Okay, good.
I'm ready to go.
All right, good. All right. Hi, you're live on the air with ATU Network. Who are we speaking with?
Oh, hi, my name is Molly.
Hi, how are you doing today, honey?
I'm doing great. I didn't realize that I was going to be on the live show, but my question is at one time I was homeless, and there is a stigma that anyone that's homeless is a drug addict, and they talk about them as if they're not even people. And so I myself was one of the few people that was not addicted to drugs, but just, my circumstances were that unfortunately my husband passed, and I did not expect that, but I'm no longer homeless. And how can we get the community, I guess, to not look at these people as just things. I mean, they're just like, they walk by and they say things and throw things. And I mean, how do we change that attitude that these are people with, with mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, and these people are human?
Well, I think you have to start with the kids, right? Teaching kids empathy and apathy and, I mean, all those things. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I went to Skid Row in LA. And I thought, any one of these young men could be my son if he didn't have a family and we didn't have money and we didn't have good insurance. So you know what I mean? Like, it was just circumstances. Right. That's the only difference, right?
Right.
But I do think that people just recoil. They think of anyone as homeless or in circumstances like that, they think of as subhuman, or they chose it, and like I said, I think a lot of it has to just do with teaching people to be altruistic very young. And that's how I was raised. I think for me, it was a natural progression. I've always been empathic, and I've always been raised to help others. Like, my grandfather once had told me, you can never be rich unless you give it away. You have to do it. So I think that's part of it. So I think that's,
absolutely.
And I think that's part of it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Lisa, what do you think? I mean, I think that's really, I think it's hard how do you teach empathy? You have to do it when they're young, I think. I think it's hard to teach grown adults to be kind to one another.
Right. It starts young. I agree. I think that more speak outs on it, more awareness, makes one become educated. That's why I started my speak outs, and I've had good, a lot of great feedback. If you really want to make a change, you bring it in the public eye, and that's doing speak outs and, holding meetings and seeing where that goes from there. Because the homeless, they are somebody, and they are somebody. They're somebody's mother. They're somebody's cousin. Never look down upon a homeless person. Lift them up, and that's the best thing we can do. You lift them.
Right.
You don't down them, and you pray for them, and you provide. You can provide for them. But the main thing is really going to get the word out there is you hold speak outs, and you speak for those who cannot speak.
Yeah.
Give them clarity. Even children should be told, sometimes things happen in life. Sometimes everybody hits their down road,
Yep.
and things happen. It doesn't make them a bad person, so that would be my advice. If you really want to make that change, get out there and just bring awareness to it.
I 100% agree. When my children were little, my big thing about with my daughter, I got her involved in student government and local community government, and giving back, and lots of volunteer work right off the rip. I mean, she was young, doing it from a very young age, and part of that was working with the homeless. I would have my children see me work with the homeless, provide them with food, provide them with clothing, work with them to receive shelter. I mean, I think by working with example when your kids are young, that I also think that helps a lot with getting rid of the stigma too about that. Is that for your children to also see you as an adult, realize that these are also other humans. You know what I mean? A lot of the people I think have lost that over the years.
Yeah.
So I believe getting your children young, working with community groups, get your kids out there doing something that makes them see these people as human. You're not feeding animals in the shelter. You're feeding human beings. Okay. And it's important that you provide them with respect, because yes, they are somebody's mother or father or daughter or son, and they do require warmth, And for them to think about them, oh my God, it's raining out. Do they have shelter? What can I do to help them? Maybe put food aside and help them. Learn that on certain days of the week you provide food to a food bank, and learn that you give like clothing to a place where you're going to provide clothing for the homeless. And I think that starts off with your children young. And in every community, there are groups that do volunteer work with children young. And that's one thing I know that's staple in every community. So I think that falls on us adults too, to get your children involved very, very young. And it's our fault if we don't get our children involved. And it's our fault if we also don't teach our children to see them empathetically and to see them as other human beings, because that just shows our kids that we don't see them as human beings
Right.
and they're not subhuman. So I believe in that very much so too.
Churches,
That's just go ahead.
by having, by having things where, for example, they have showers every Monday from, 11 to 2 or something like that. I think that churches that do that, the congregation, they gather supplies for the homeless. I think people that go to church, I'm not saying that they're better than people that don't, but I think that their children see that and they know that, okay, we're supposed to help others.
Yes.
I think they're more apt to do it, but it just, I'm in Los Angeles and it's bad, the amount of homeless people, and I'm in West Hills and I grew up here, and to see so many homeless people, and then I say something about it on Facebook and they're, rather than saying, okay, well, this is where you can go to donate. Oh, well, you know what? You seem to care so much about them. Why don't you open up your home to them and let them all come live with you with their, needles and I'm like, wow, that's not the way to be.
No, it's not.
No.
No.
I know a group, it's called Sober Minded Ministries. And Sean Copley, he does a lot for the homeless, and that's in Ohio. He's in Columbus, Ohio, but I could tell you, it's just amazing. He pulls his car up in a parking lot down there, and people just come out of the woods, and he provides them blankets and heaters. It's just been amazing, his walk on his path. See, everybody's doing their part, and we need the government to do their part.
Right.
And that's frustrated. That's my frustration. And believe me, I prayed that up too, because these drugs, I believe God made everything that grows, I believe is from the Lord, but it's used in the wrong way.
Yes.
It's for medical purposes, like marijuana, that could be used for medical purposes. People are taking what was brought here to help people, and they're destroying people with it by adding garbage to it. And our government, we just had a special forces soldier get caught bringing drugs into our country. It has to stop. But no, everybody's making money. It's all about greed. Think about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Think this virus, and I know you don't want to talk about the virus, but this virus is so similar to the drug epidemic. And let me explain. I can give you 6 right now. 1, death.
Yes.
9.
Yep.
Number 2, the economy, financials. Number 3, funeral homes, overwhelmed. 4, rich are becoming richer, the pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
5, help is limited. And 6, everybody panics taking a script after surgery. So there's more there. Those are the top 6 that I came up with. Tell me how that's different from the virus.
It really isn't.
The only difference is our government is, bringing this out on the virus. And we're losing more people on the drug epidemic.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here.
Right.
There's something seriously wrong with our government. And we need to take that to prayer, because changes have to come. We're human. And no, I'm not perfect. Believe me, I don't walk on water. But I'm going to tell you something. God does. And if we trust him enough to bring his hand down and make these changes with our government officials, it can happen. And I believe in the power of prayer, because I've seen the power of prayer work. And that's why I preach on that. And no, I don't want to put the Bible in anybody's face or my belief in anybody's face because everybody has a right to their own belief. I'm only sharing mine because I've seen it work. But that's where my frustration lies, is this government is making money. There's a big difference. Now with the virus, now they're losing money, right? Oh, now we got to talk about it because, we don't want to lose money. But with the drug epidemic, they're making money. That's where you understand what my frustration is here?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can tell in my voice. I get really upset about this.
Well, I want to, I'm sorry. You still,
Hello?
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask, do you have a Facebook page or something? Because I got an email and I didn't know what the topic was, but then I thought, oh, wow, good topic. And so I was listening. Now, I don't know how I got an email, but do you have a Facebook page that you're on?
are you talking to me or are you talking to our guests?
All of you. Like, how did I don't know
I
how
am on Awaken. I am ATU Network. I am on, we're on Blog Talk Radio, Google Play, TuneIn, iTunes.
Facebook, Twitter,
Facebook,
Instagram, we're everywhere, darling.
ATU Network, we're all over the place. So as far as you guys, how did she get a hold of you guys? But we are right on Facebook as well, yes.
Yeah, no, we might have sent the email out. I'm not sure, but yeah, Face of Opioids. We have a group and a page on Facebook.
Right.
Okay.
And you were meant to come find us today, so that is that's a blessing in itself, darling. So we appreciate it very, very much, very much. But I kind of agree with financially. I think if prior to this whole pandemic, if the government had put behind the heroin epidemic the money and the energy, I think we'd be a lot further along in helping, addicts way farther along than what we've already got.
This social distancing is really hard for me to mute Michelle when other people are talking. So, oops. Yeah.
I can't.
No.
I'm on a like a lag from you guys, so I don't know.
No, you're on a 2-second lag because I can hear you behind me and it's hilarious. But you made me laugh, so that's good. Laughter is soothing. I want to thank you so much for calling in, honey. But yes, we're all on Facebook. Easy for us to look up. And you did give her your Facebook group, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Thank you so much for calling.
Oh, thank you so much for calling in, honey. All right. Here we go.
If people want me to pray for them, they can email me at parents@writeme.com.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, it brings a lot of things to mind, or definitely about this whole situation that we're all in right now.
Michelle,
Yes.
sorry. 1 second. She was trying to talk and I can't hear you and her.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead, honey.
There's one other thing that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, and that's the fact that we have more missing people. Okay, the numbers in the missing have increased dramatically. So our detectives are overworked, our state police are overworked, local PD's overworked. And let me explain. With the drug epidemic, we have individuals that are cleaning up. They're changing their lives. They're becoming sober. Well, when it comes to the drug epidemic, drug dealers do not like their clients to clean up, and they're killing them. I'm telling you, I've seen cases where, and I can tell you right now, I have a parent that his son was just murdered. He was doing great. They went into his house, they held him down, they injected him, and when the toxicology came back, it was 10 times the fentanyl. What does that tell you? So my advice to anybody that's suffering with addiction, stay out of town, relocate, start a new life, get out of the town that you're in, because I'm starting to see a number increase here. I mean, these drug dealers are afraid that the person's going to talk, the person's going to reveal things. So what do? They take them out, and it's all because they want to clean up, and that's not right. It's a battle in itself when you're trying to become clean. But now, while you're staying clean, you have to look behind you, and you have to watch your back, and that's a lot to take in. And I'm seeing this now, and it scares me, and nothing scares me. And I'm worried about people that are going through this, and I'm telling you, I'm seeing it right now, and it saddens me. it's like the evil's working overtime here, you know, and I'm praying it out and I'm praying it up and I'm making people aware of this. But I don't know if Melissa feels the same. When you're trying to get clean, move out of that town, move out of that state, whatever you got to do to be safe.
We encourage that as well. I mean, maybe for different reasons. I mean, I think what you're saying can be valid in a lot of cases, especially if you were a runner or you were dealing drugs as well as because you have it. But I have found that the people that are most successful in staying sober are the ones that don't go back to their stomping ground. I think there's just too much temptation. It's too easy to fall back into routines.
Yep.
So I agree completely that, you know, and it's not feasible for all people, but if you can, you know, find a sober living in another state, go to rehab somewhere, you know, just, I think will have a much better chance of being successful.
I agree.
Yeah, it's not fair that they're trying to clean up and then they have a drug dealer on their back. It's not fair. You know, and then you go to the NA meeting.
Sorry, that was just my phone.
I don't know, Melissa, if you're aware of this, but guess where the drug dealers are now?
Oh, yeah. Most of, you know, it's funny because most of my members, they like to go to AA versus NA meetings. NA does have a persona where that's where you can find the best drugs and whatnot. Seriously. So I have noticed a lot of my members that are serious in their sobriety tend to favor their AA meetings over going to an NA meeting, actually, because of some of those issues.
Right.
Yeah, my husband did the same thing.
Outside, you have the drug dealer standing outside of the NA meeting.
Yeah.
What?
Where's the cops? Where's the cops? That's what I want to know. Where's the local PD? Are they taking money in their pockets? Who knows? That's why I feel hounds go to crap, because if they can get a free prostitute and they get money, a cut out of the money for drugs, they're going to turn their head and your town's going to go to crap. And I'm seeing that too. I hate to say it, but it is the truth. Our police
Do you think they should, ladies, do you think they should be drug testing at these meetings?
What's that, hon? I didn't hear you.
Do you think that drug testing should be like a mandated thing at these meetings?
Well, yeah, they do have drug testing at meetings, but the thing is, I think there should be cops watching these NA facilities, because if they want to catch a drug dealer, honey, all they got to do is watch outside the building.
Wow.
They'll give that person that's suffering with addiction a free stamp back, just to lure them back in. Just to lure. That's not right. We need to come against this. Our people.
And I probably would not advocate for drug testing at meetings, and I'll tell you why, because relapse is part of the disease, right? So a lot of times you go to meetings because you're in sobriety, but a lot of times you go because you've hit your rock bottom again. And you might not get sober that day, but I think every time you have a chance to be with a group, every time you have a chance to hear the truth or find your truth, I think it's okay. So I probably wouldn't advocate for drug testing. And like she said, most of them are hanging out around the facilities and stuff with big meetings.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, so they're literally trying to lure them back into the drugs.
Yeah, my husband wouldn't
I
go.
couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said they're literally trying to lure them back into the drugs, right at the actual meetings, literally trying to lure them back.
Yeah, and it is hard. Like, you see, I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone on this panel has ever had an addiction to like an opioid, but I can tell you, like, when I first, got sober, just hearing about the medication could make my mouth almost water. Like, just talking about it. I'm not kidding. Like, your body was like, oh, just hearing about it. So I can imagine if you're leaving a meeting and you're especially new in sobriety, it'd be very hard to turn down.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And my body would have a physical reaction just talking about opioids.
Now, just a quick question on that. How long is the suggested amount of time before, like, your body starts releasing that? How long before it gets a little bit easier as far as that goes?
It never does.
It really doesn't, it's weird because, like, now I'm at a place, I don't miss it, I don't crave it, but I do remember talking to my girlfriend. She was 6 years in sobriety before she died, and I asked her if she missed it, and she was like, every day, every single day. For me, I think I'm in a good headspace, my life is good, I'm in a good mental space. I'm sure that helps me stay sober. But I certainly could flip. I mean, it would be that difficult. If there was, you know, if there was a bunch of pills in a room, it might be hard for me to walk away, and my body would probably still physically react, I'm sure.
Wow.
Too. Now, it doesn't react as severely now, like when I talk about it and stuff like it used to in the beginning, you know. But yeah, I don't know if that really goes away. And they say, you know, usually now with opioids, after you've been taking opioids for 5 days, you're physically addicted after 5 days.
Wow.
Yep.
5 days.
Take about 8 months, Melissa, for 18 months for the brain itself to heal more so from, you know, because I see that there's a problem with like rehab. They put them in for 2 weeks and they kick them out and they bring them back so insurance covers. But
it's not long enough. I mean, you really do need long term. And even with meth, I know meth is another thing we're seeing a rise on, as well as crystal meth. Both of those drugs, because they change brain chemistry so severely, you really need, if you want to be successful, you need long-term inpatient, 90 days or more. You probably need outpatient for several months after that, along with sober living. I would think total treatment, 12 to 18 months is probably your safest bet to maybe make it.
And they don't allow that. They don't. And you're lucky if you get a week.
I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, you're lucky. Some insurances, they'll throw you in there for a week and that's it.
Yeah, and it doesn't do enough. It's not enough. I mean,
No.
you know, like just the first 30 days, you're finally starting to like feel like, you know, the physical cravings and stuff are going away, right? You still have all the mental stuff you have to deal with. You still have, you know, what caused you to use and why you're there, you know, all that stuff that takes months. But as far as physical, you know, I know, see, for me, mine was a little different. I just decided one day I was going to quit. You know, I was getting medication because of an illness, and then it just amped up to wanting more and more. You know, I was taking 400 milligrams of morphine a day.
Wow.
When I started with 15 milligrams, that tells you how much your body changes and wants it. But for me, I just stopped. But I can tell you, like, I didn't go through a professional detox and stuff. So I can tell you, it took about a month for me to physically crave those drugs.
Wow.
And then the mental is a whole other thing, but it does take some time, you know, to get just to think straight and not have your skin crawl and get back to sleeping normally. You know, I'll tell you something else I figured out too. When you stop doing drugs, you got a lot of freaking time on your hands, right? You know what I mean? You have to find things to do. You're like, holy shit, I've got a lot of spare time. You know, you need that process. You need time, and I think that's why I really encourage. Like, my son has been in treatment. So my son's been in rehab. This is his 4th time. But this time he's been inpatient for over 90 days, and we're seeing the best success we've ever seen with him as far as just his thinking and decision making. I think just giving him that time is making such a huge difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's healing.
I agree. I think the biggest issue that I've seen from my experience is if the insurance company would stop worrying about the money, but yet the insurance company will pay for the methadone. If you paid for the actual treatment for the person to get better when they wanted to get better, maybe you wouldn't have all of this happening. Maybe something could have stopped earlier. You know, maybe this wouldn't happen. That's the way I think. You know, they need to look at this in long terms.
I was going to say, you know, the first time my son went to rehab, we didn't know anything, right? I didn't know my butt from the hole in the ground, right? I didn't know what, we just picked one and hoped for the best because you don't know what you're doing. You know, you just hope you're helping your child. But it was 30 days and he came home. Okay, because that's what insurance told us to do, and no follow-up treatment. Of course, he went back to using drugs. But here's the thing, in between all of that, you know, he had to have several surgeries because he had infected arms and abscesses. You know what I mean? Like, so medical bills were still piling up. If they would have just given him the long-term treatment to begin with, thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
You know,
cheaper to give him the right treatment than it would be to in and out, in and out, in and out. It just, you know what I mean? A long-term treatment. It's like my brother. My brother's been sober. Okay, he was an alcoholic all his life. I mean, I remember horror stories, okay, since I was 16. But he's sober, and he's been sober over 2 years. He was the only person, though, that went to Greenbrier voluntarily. Isn't that interesting?
wow.
But he's also very proud of Jimmy. I'm very proud of my brother. But I know what you're talking about, how you see the change, whether it's drugs or alcohol. Once they remove that attachment, so to speak, they become themselves again.
Yes.
Like a lot of people say, well, oh my gosh, how could she do drugs while she's pregnant? Oh my gosh, how could she do that? Or how could he do that? Because drugs change the chemistry in the brain. You remove the attachment, you have that person again.
Mhm.
People don't get that, and that's what angers me. People judge, and they judge, and they have no clue what they're talking about. And unless you are in the know, then you don't know.
Exactly.
And,
Well, I finally like my son again. I mean, there was a time I wanted to wring his neck. I mean, I love him and I'm educated, so I know about addiction, but it's not easy to love someone that's using drugs. It's not easy. It's
No.
not for the faint of heart, for sure. But I'm
Mhm.
finally at a point, like, I'm like, I really like you now. Like, I've always loved you, but I wanted to murder you for the last 2 years. I really,
Right.
you
I want to snap your neck, kid. Absolutely.
I do
Uh,
understand that.
know.
But I mean, I agree with you, ladies. I think if they let you get it right with the proper care the first time, I think it would be giving people a lot better chances than this back and forth, and just giving them more illness and more piling up more things and more addictions and more drugs in their system. And it gets worse
Right.
and worse. Now, let me ask you guys another question about this. Now, we're talking about like opioids and heroin, and all that. What are you guys seeing as far as like cocaine addiction? How does that get handled?
I think that's,
Cocaine?
yeah, isn't that a psychological addiction more than a physical one? I'm trying to remember my
Yeah,
research from years ago.
Yeah, it's a stimulant, obviously,
Yeah.
and it doesn't, your body doesn't have natural cocaine receptors. So, but again, I mean, it's still an addiction. You still have that to deal with. Now they do detox, because I don't know if you guys are aware, but there are drugs out there now that have opioid blockers in them, so someone can't overdose, someone can't get high. They have all these tools now that can potentially help. We don't have that with uppers like cocaine or crystal meth.
Right.
And some places won't even take you like for rehab if you don't have, they tell you to go have a couple beers because the insurance won't pay if you're just a crystal meth addict.
Wow.
Or you're just a cocaine addict because they
Right.
don't consider that a physical addiction. So I've heard all kinds of crazy stories, but I think it's just as real. I do think that you still need long-term treatment for it because I still think you have to get your brain right. And I think I would say I only tried cocaine once or twice in my lifetime, but you feel very empowered. You feel like Superman. So I would imagine you have to learn how to exist in a world where you don't have that boost in your ego. You know what I mean? So you still have to go through all those challenges. I think.
Michelle, can you handle things for 1 minute while I go get Joe? He forgot his keys again. I gotta go let my son in. I'll be right back.
You might want to lower your mic for a second too, because you are super, super, super loud too. Okay. So now is the treatment the same, by the way, ladies, with cocaine as it is for the heroin and the opioid addiction? Is it the same type of treatment?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, and that's part of the problem. Maybe Lisa talking about, really the only kind of treatment we've had for a long time is 12 steps, right? Like you go to like the general thing was you go to rehab for 30 days and you learn about 12 steps, and then you go to your meetings. Like they made this cookie cutter platform, and I think it made sense. Especially AA, because when AA was built, it was a bunch of, stockbrokers that were drinking all the time, right? I think that model could make sense because they were drinking for different reasons.
Right.
I am seeing more now with rehabs opening up other avenues, like realizing dual diagnosis. You probably have a mental illness, drug addict. You need to treat both. Or, trauma-based rehab where a lot of people that are using drugs have had some major trauma in their life. They need to learn how to deal with PTSD. And, you know what I mean? Like, so we are seeing rehab starting to try to break the mold of what we thought traditional rehabs were. But a lot of it does come down to dollars that insurance will pay for. But yes, I think the treatments that we currently have in this country are very similar no matter what drug you're on. And I think that's probably the wrong way to look at things. I think we do need to look at it more so as, like my son is bipolar. He was probably using the drugs to mask he was dealing with that we weren't aware of. You know what I mean? That's probably where it rooted. He was self-medicating. You know what I mean? Like we have to deal with those root problems. I know that there's other people, I'm sure Lisa's talked to some where like, they had a vicious childhood. They were molested. They were raped. They were beaten. Theirs comes from a place of PTSD and coping mechanisms. You know what I mean? So that is really what we have to get to the root of, is what kicked this off to begin with. Most people I don't know if I've met any yet that just doing it for the hell of it, for fun, and just became addicts. You know what I mean? Like they were trying to cover something or enhance something, at least from my experience. Lisa, what's your experience?
They have a hole within themselves, and they try to fill that,
Right.
and they try to numb that pain, you know, and then it becomes, of course, an addiction, and then it changes the brain chemistry, and they do things they normally wouldn't do. But it all comes down to something. There's a reason behind every, and then you have doctors. You have the corrupted doctors, and you can Google it. You can Google doctors being arrested. You can Google big farmers being sued. And interesting enough, big pharma is supposed to make more money now from the epidemic. I mean, from the virus, the pandemic. Isn't it interesting where money comes in again, right?
Well, you know, and you know, Lisa, I mean, we both know, I mean, Purdue filed bankruptcy to hide from all the lawsuits. I mean, I'm working with the lawyers now that are trying to get people to file claims against that bankruptcy.
Wow.
They were the biggest promoters. The Sacklers they devastated this country, and they made billions off of our loved ones. You know, I think a good thing for your listeners to check out is probably The Pharmacist, as a new documentary on Netflix, and that will clue you into a lot of what happened and how Big Pharma kicked off, and it's done in such a way that it's very personal story and journey. I think it resonates with a lot of people. I suggest checking it out.
Don't take after surgery, you know? It's such a high do not take opiates after surgery. And the other thing I want people to Google is police officers. See, we need to be Team Circle, and we need those police officers in our circle. And if we have police officers out there that are getting in trouble because of their financials or showing that they own 5 homes on their income, which I think the Attorney General should start digging into every officer's income behind it, because I've seen cases now where police officers are taking free prostitutes from the drug dealer, and they're taking a cut of drug money to turn their head. We have a problem in America. When you see a little town go to crap, you have to wonder, where's the authority? And it took some things and some people to bring some things to me that told me about the dirty cops. So my point to sharing this, you know, we don't have all bad cops. We don't have all bad doctors. I mean, we have good and we have bad. But you know, we need Team Circle, Melissa. You know that. We need people to come into our circle and say, hey, we want to make a change. That when we're up against police officers, we're up against dirty doctors. Come on. Something has to be changed. The only way you can handle dirty police is you take it to Attorney General and you tell them to dig into their financials. And then once they dig, they're probably going to find many police officers that have 5 homes that shouldn't be able to afford. You know, so you want to really bring your hand in the mess, bring it down hard. And that's where I'm at. Bring it down hard. And if they want to clean up towns too, arrest the drug dealer that's standing outside the NA meeting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're trying to resolve and become even a better person and working hard to recover. No way should a drug dealer be in front of that NA meeting. It ain't right. That ain't right, Melissa. That breaks my heart. You see what I'm saying?
It's such a, you know, it was strange when my best friend died. I got her stuff out of pawn or computer, you know, I wanted, you know, and I was able to read like what she'd been doing those last couple of weeks, you know, what was consuming her life. You know, I got to see a side, you know, I never got street drugs when I had my addiction. Mine was all through a legal drug dealer. Mine was all through a doctor. But it was just amazing, like you're saying, it's amazing like how many people were interwoven into this drug world that I never realized.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, and again, but I work with some phenomenal, I mean, there's a program in Chesterfield County where the sheriff has turned his jail into a rehab. It's called the Heart Program. It's phenomenal. I mean, he's saving lives. Very few people are going back to drugs. I mean, there are wonderful people fighting the good fight. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's amazing. You know, he made this whole program just on the commissary money, just on the snacks and stuff they sold the guys in jail. That's how he took all that money and turned it into this full-on program. And they help these people even 90 days past when they get out of jail. Like, I mean, it's amazing to me. So there's certainly people doing that, you know, fighting the good fight for sure. Thank God.
Like I said, you have good cops, you have bad cops, you have good doctors. You know, you have people in this. I mean, some people I've seen, and Melissa, I'm sure you'll agree with me, brokers. That angers me. You want to explain
Body
it?
brokers are disgusting.
What?
Tell them, yeah, about the bird.
What, pawnbrokers? Oh, pawnbrokers.
Rehab world. So basically, they do a few things. One, they'll tell someone they're going to fly them out and get them into rehab, and they'll put them in a hotel, and they'll just run their Medicaid through, and they never see rehab. They'll give them, there's another type of broker that just gives someone $1,000 to get a detox, and as soon as they get out, they run them right back through again. They're making money off their insurance. And some of them prostitute the girls, and it's called body broker, and they're basically just running their Medicaid and insurance through and really not getting these people treatment, and they're getting kickbacks for it.
Huh.
And it's only illegal in 2 states. It's only illegal in California and Florida. So the
Wow.
rest of the country needs to catch up with those laws. The rest of the country, and this was a big problem. It started in Florida. It was a big issue because Florida had a lot of pill mills back in the day where you paid cash and you got your dilaudid, right in the hype of getting pills. That's how it became illegal there very quickly. But we're starting to see it, all over the country now. People being promised help and then they're left under a bridge. And
Wow, what a dirty system.
they've used their insurance. Yeah, it's gross. It's disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah, hey, we need people that are going to be a solution to the problem.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like when you jump over the other side and you're looking at these people that don't want to help, that they're making the problem worse, it really causes a lot of anger and discouragement, because here, me and you, Melissa, and other people are over here trying to make a difference, and we even got police officers on the other side that don't make a difference. And you got body brokers and bad doctors, and I mean, this is a real battle. To me, it's a spiritual battle. I look at it as a spiritual battle. But do you agree with me? I mean, this is a really deep.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is this is a pandemic as well, right? This pandemic's been going on. It crosses many cultures, it's worldwide. Like, this isn't just something that's isolated to the United States. So it is clearly classified a pandemic, and it spills out to what you would call, in quote, the innocents, right? Little kids are getting hooked on drugs because their parents are pregnant. Little kids are picking up drugs off the table and overdosing and dropping dead, right? So it like any epidemic or pandemic, it spills out to the whole community, and that's what this is doing. And I think that, unfortunately, it's still, I think it's still a very grassroots movement. It's because of people like me that decided, to give up my job and do this for free for 12 hours a day that we're making any kind of inroads. I mean, I'm talking hundreds of groups doing that, but as far as a huge national, international presence, there's no multi-million-dollar organizations pushing these agendas through. It's people like Lisa, me, Ryan Hampton. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's tough. It's very difficult.
Yeah, you're right. We need is a big organization to take this over.
And I think that's amazing what Sean does, what you do, whatever, everybody in that team circle. But again, I'm going to be repetitive here. The epidemic, the government makes money. The pandemic, they're losing money. Now you see the difference, Melissa?
Oh, I agree. I mean, Big Pharma, let's face it, Big Pharma has big lobbyists. That's why we're having a hard time getting laws pushed through and packages and getting the president to the president. And I'm not going to get into politics, who you like. I don't want to get into that. Just call him the president as his chair, as that person that sits there. I mean, he made an opioid commission. They gave him a report. They told him exactly what needed to be done, and very little of it was done. And I'm not knocking him. The president before didn't do anything. It doesn't matter, Democrat, that doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, they shy away from it, I think, because drugs are involved, because so many people still think it's a choice. Mentally, they can't get their head around, why should I help someone that's not helping themselves? That's what they think. But it's so illogical, because you're asking a mentally ill person to be able to make rational decisions for themselves.
It's not
And
possible.
how can you do that? Because when you're using drugs, you are mentally incapacitated. If you're using drugs, I wouldn't let you testify in court. If you're using drugs, you couldn't sign a legal document. Why should I think that you can make an educated decision about doing it or not doing it, quitting or still, it doesn't make sense to me. It's that simple.
Agreed.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree.
The question of the day would be, what will work? And I think, from my opinion, I think what would work would be long-term treatment. Knock out this garbage of 2 weeks treatment. Bring long-term care in. Bring the right treatment. And I think that would help solve a lot.
Mhm.
Great.
What about for you? What do you think, Melissa?
I absolutely think that, we need more, and I think it needs to be step down treatment, right? Like, so you keep earning more privileges and more freedoms as you go through, like, it goes through transitions as your body heals. You learn how to integrate back in society. I think that's crucial. I think educating very young is crucial, and not just those children, but the families of children. I think those are crucial items. I think that we need to, such as what we were talking about earlier, like someone that's on methadone, I don't think we should be so quick to rush them to get off of it. I think that there's some people that may need long-term medical assistance for those things. I mean, I think those are things that have to be crucial. I think we need expanded Medicaid to pay for a lot of this. So it's definitely a complex problem, but it does start with longer-term treatment. 30 days is ridiculous. It's not enough. It's not even close to enough. I read if you can stay sober a year, your chance of success increases like 50 to 60% of not relapsing.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
So we need to give them at least a year.
Right, right,
Give
exactly.
them that
Well,
chance.
We
And
got
so right
about,
now, we're talking Russian roulette with 5 bullets in the chamber and 1 empty, right? Like if you're relapsed, like my girlfriend, she didn't use drugs for 6 years. She relapsed and she died. Like there is no coming back. These drugs are so potent out there. You're lucky if you get a second chance.
you're very lucky. We got 14 minutes left of the show. Literally, it's almost
Okay.
been 2 hours. So I want to I know, I can't believe it. It's just flying by here. I also want you guys again, before we run out of time, to get into another topic of this. Let everybody know how they can get a hold of each of you, please, in case they need help or assistance or guidance or.
Give them all the goodies, guys.
My email is parents@writeme.com.
Okay, and for Faces of Opioids, so you can email me at info@facesofopioids.org, or our website is facesofopioids.org. Or you can go to our Facebook group, which is Faces of Opioids. You'll find us.
Okay, and don't
Okay,
forget.
and Susan, I have a question for you, hon.
Yeah.
Now, Melissa, I did post in your room. I did ask parents. Now, this is a spiritual avenue here. I'm meeting a lot of parents that never had paranormal activity until their child passed away. Melissa, this is real. Parents have come to me and said, Lisa, I never experienced paranormal activity until my child passed away, and I'm seeing a black shadow man. And I said, well, you don't want to fear it. And then another parent came to me and said, she's enduring that. And I said, well, you don't want to fear it. That's the only thing I could tell them is don't fear it. I am really curious to grab a better understanding why the parents that are losing a child to the drug epidemic are experiencing this black shadow man. And I really hope, Susan, you will have a show on this aspect of it, because I'm telling you, a lot of parents are suffering and they're scared and they want to know why. I mean, I had one parent that she felt her son came to visit her, of course, which I feel that it's probable. The Bible talks about spiritual things, and it says test the spirits to see if they're of God or evil. So I do believe in the spiritual aspect of this. But I had one parent say she was watching a movie and her pots and pans flew off her counter. And I said, well, don't. And she says, well, I don't fear, but then other parents do.
Right.
So Melissa, I guess, Susan, if you're willing to bring the parents on, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. As far as spiritual activity, I've had it on both ends. Michelle and I are paranormal investigators as well. I am a reverend as well myself. So my father, the easiest way to explain something like that, when my fathers are around, I smell a certain I smell Old Spice. And if back when my husband was alive, when he was doing something wrong, he'd throw something off the shelf at him. That's just who he was, because that's who my dad was. So, but when my husband's around and he's trying to get our attention over something, he pushes things around the house too. So to us, this is just, it's
normal.
It's normal.
It's
normal.
normal.
The way that individuals will try to get your attention. I mean, we have a resident ghost. We moved in here and we actually have a ghost that's here that likes to play with the dogs and drive them nuts. So
yeah, so we moved in with a ghost.
Common normalcy for somebody like us. But yeah, I'd love to have a show about that.
but it makes total sense that because you think about the sudden death aspect of a drug addiction overdose. It leaves the spirits confused. It leaves them restless. It leaves them unknowing
You
what
guys
to
are
do.
talking at the same time again.
Go ahead.
Sorry. You two are both talking at the same time.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You guys were both talking at the same time again.
I think it's a win-win because we have parents that come on, they can be the voice of their child, and then they can also have this issue addressed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want them to be the voice of their child. That's my advice to all parents. Be the voice you need to be. Do not give up. Do not take your life. You know, get up, get dressed, voice out, repeat, repeat, repeat,
Yeah.
repeat. But I think it would be healthy for them if you had a show that they can call and say, hey, my son passed, and this is what I'm experiencing. And, you know, and I think it's a movement of healing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's a very positive move, you know, helpful and whatnot. But now, Melissa, did you deal with anything paranormal? Has there been anything that you've experienced?
Well, for me, I had, so there's a psychic that has a message for me, but I haven't gotten it yet. I've been chickening out for 2 months because I don't know what it is.
Oh no.
So I probably need to get the message eventually, but I'm like, I don't know. But I haven't had one with Heather. I just started dreaming about her. She died in 2017. I guess my grief needed to live. But with my grandmother, I had a butterfly a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like at times I've seen like a yellow butterfly. So
Death
I
and
think that there
rebirth.
might be some tie to my grandmother that way.
Yeah, it's death and rebirth.
Yeah, but as far as like, yeah, and this psychic, I mean, everyone knows this person's pretty renowned and everyone says she's phenomenal, but she's like, I have a message. I'm like, because I, you know, both my loved ones that I've lost, I mean, I've been very fortunate. My grandparents lived till I was in my 40s. I've been very lucky, but I felt like I left on a good note with both of them. I'm like, what do they want? I don't know why. I probably need to eventually, so we'll see.
But I mean, it becomes an issue of, you know, it comes providing comfort to the families and providing comforts
I don't
to,
know.
you know, the actual spirits because it becomes a part of like helping them kind of pass on and move on. Because you think of the traumatic way that they passed on, it makes sense that people will be seeing shadow spirits. Totally.
Got it.
It does make sense. Totally. Because it's a sudden death, regardless. It's like
Yeah.
committing a suicide.
Yeah, it's just been a weird, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
I
know.
will say in my group though, in all fairness, I think because I've talked to God hundreds of grieving parents, and they have certainly losing a child has turned whether they're more perceptive or they're feeling more, whatever those things are. I've heard so many experiences that just blow you away. That I guess are paranormal. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there are scriptures about the spiritual world. So it's not like, you know, a lot of Christians will say, oh, that's evil. No, if they know their Bible, it's in Acts, and it's all throughout the scriptures that, you know, even in one scripture says test the spirits. Test the spirits. Yeah, it could be demon, it could be loved one, but, you know, you have to test that spirit. And that's one of the things that Chris Hammond, he's a paranormal investigator, and Melissa Leeper, she's also very educated in this field. So it's almost like, you know, once you determine what's messing with that family, if it's a loved one, you know, then you can address it a certain way. If it's demonic, then you address it a certain way.
Right.
There's always what I'm saying is there's always a solution. But, you know, there's Christians out there that say, oh my gosh, that's all it is. No, it's not. Because I've had parents come to me and say, well, my toaster moved. Okay, well, you didn't get hurt, right? You're not scratched. It's not a demonic, you know. People that suffer through demonic activity typically get hurt. You see what I'm saying? They have this feeling within them that they're so fearful. That doesn't come with regular spirit. That comes with a demonic spirit. What do you think, Susan? Do you agree?
I think everything is different as far as like case to case type situations, because you have to remember the way the person is in life is how they were in death. So if they were a violent individual in life, they would be a violent individual in death. So it's literally case by case. And it depends on situations. So it would be really difficult to pinpoint it because I take, Michelle and I take every case as individual. We start off with a fresh perspective for all of them.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to say one way or the other. But if it's this, it's one thing. If it's that, it's another. It's just that we choose to look at things, individual.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
I just don't understand. Like, you think most Christians would be paranormal investigators? That's right. I don't know. I'm just so frustrated with the Christian perspective. And I love the Lord. Don't get me wrong. I was saved and baptized, but you have these people out there. They're the most judging people. Oh, he's an addict. Oh, stay away from the. What are you talking about? When you want to help somebody and you love the Lord and you want to love on others, you don't judge people. And I found, and I'm not kidding you, Susan and Melissa and everybody, I have found that Christians are the most judging. And that's getting back
In some ways.
Really?
What you need to worry about is be wary of the people who are judging the people that are judging the people that are judging.
Yeah,
You need to
see,
worry about
we
the
don't
judging
we
more.
don't judge, and this network is all positive all the time. As
Yeah.
far as what
Yeah.
everybody's beliefs are, we allow everybody to believe what they want. I mean, if you believe that the tree or worship the tree, go right ahead. We don't care as long as you are positive and helping your fellow man, your fellow individual. That is the way that it should be. I mean, it should be positive and think positive and try to stay positive, because if you stay positive, you've got half the battle right there. You
Mhm.
have to look at that.
Yeah.
We got about 3 minutes left of the show here. 3 minutes. And
And the go.
was
Wow, we
dope
did it.
with no hope, the heroin epidemic.
Susan, I'm proud of you. You really dug deep tonight, Susan, and you brought something out that you needed to bring out.
Yep,
It was wonderful.
I'm proud of you, girlfriend.
I did it. I did it. So
You've
this
done it.
website on the back of the book, is that the website to purchase the book? Wordassociate.com.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, if you want to
And that's-
purchase a copy of this, it's really going to help everybody. It's called Dope with No Hope. It's the heroin epidemic. Go to wordassociation.com is where you want to go. The book was written by Lisa, Ilinsky and Justin Dresch. So you definitely
Yeah,
want to
and
purchase
the
that book.
724, the number they can call to order is 724-226-1255. And the reason why I titled it Dope with No Hope is my friend called me, and her daughter, you ready for this? Her daughter was arrested she was suffering with a heroin addiction. She kidnapped a nun,
Whoa.
okay? She got sentenced 20 years in prison. She's in Muncie prison, 20-year sentence for an adult kidnapping, okay? She said to her mom, she said, tell Lisa that there is no hope with dope. There's that dope, there's no hope. And I thought, well, okay, I mean, think about it. I work the side of being an advocate for parents that lost a child. Where's the hope in a funeral? I see people going to prison and they're sentenced for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years over drugs because of their addiction. Where's the hope in that? So understand my title, even though there's
90
hope
seconds.
in God, but there's just no hope in that.
No, there isn't. All right, I want to thank you two so much for doing this show and for bringing this to our attention. I hope that we were able to spread the word with everybody else. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Melissa. Very much nice meeting you both.
And don't forget, tomorrow night we have chakras, but I think we're going to do half chakras and half readings. Is what we're going to do. 60 seconds left to the show. I want to say peace out to you guys. Love you guys. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Thanks
Don't
Don't
forget,
forget.
you can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, everywhere that music is available. You'll find us there. Peace out.
Keep up your social distancing, everybody.
And on the web at awakeningtheunknown.wixsite.com. Voiceover work done by Cody Brain Tespian.